So for many people, recording music with their hardware instrument is either just a stereo recording or a full-on production in their DAW. And I disagree. There's a middle ground, and in this video today I want to show you my two workflows that I personally use to finish songs. Some of them even get released on labels like Deeptakt Records and Dreiton Records. So everything you hear today has been recorded with the Analog Four. I don't want to waste your time watching me record samples and stuff like that. So we're pretty much only going over these two workflows that I have here. If you want to follow along, go grab Analog Dub Techno Volume 1, which is a preset pack for your Analog 4 with over 150 presets. So signature dub techno sounds and pretty much everything you need to get going right away. By the way, this video comes with a free sample pack where all the stamps and loops and pretty much everything that I've recorded in this session will be available for free. Check the links in the description box. Alright, so workflow number 1. And as you can see, we have this one big recording and a lot of things going on as well. So let me move everything that's not important at the moment to the side and start from the beginning. So with workflow number 1, you're taking a recording that you have from a main synth, a lead sound, which is just as is. Have a listen, like this. So with workflow number 1, you're building the arrangement around the recording. As we just heard, there's some areas where things get a little bit intense, then drop down. This could probably be a good area for a break, where things get really intense and then everything collapses and starts to build up into something intense again. And now I know this, you just see and hear everything for the first time, but when you record that, you will remember that there are areas and events that happen. All right, so let's build an arrangement around this recording. And what do we record? Now, as you've seen in the beginning, I've already recorded a bunch of tracks and elements. I tend to start with the lowest hanging fruit first, so I recorded a kick drum. Very basic. Now, this low end is actually apart from this recording, which I'm going to filter down in the later mixing session and use it as a bass line. Maybe I pitch it down, I'm not sure, but I think it'd be a nice thing. Then we have a hi-hat, of course. Okay, so we have a hi-hat, we have a clap. Let's have a listen. I have a percussive element. We have a loop here. And of course we have a few other elements, but I started out with this offbeat hi-hat, this kick drum, this clap, this long recording, and this loop, I guess. I just recorded, as you can see, 4-bar or 8-bar loops, and then I went over here and started to build an arrangement. Now, one tip I have for you is you can draw out an empty MIDI track as a guideline for your arrangement, just like taking notes or having a visual cue of what's going on, making it a little bit easier to draw out an initial arrangement first. So in this track I started with a kick drum, so let's have the kick drum here in a few different places. As you can see, I figured I have an intro, I have a part 1 based off the events that happen in the arrangement. I have a break here, which doesn't need a kick drum. I have a part 2, which is again full with a kick drum. Then we have a second break and an outro, which also gets a kick drum. And then we can take, of course, this bassline thing that we have and duplicate everything. And as you can see, I'm just filling in the gaps. So let's take, all right, so here we have the hi-hat, and as you can see in this part, I actually made it with a fade in, because I probably were thinking that this was a bit much for a start, so I moved it further into the arrangement. And of course, this track, while it already has delay on it and sound very full, it could definitely benefit in the later mixing session from a reverb. But again, at this point, I just leave things as they are and focus on what we have. Okay, let's remove this and take this one instead. This is like very noisy. I might even do it like this. Yes, that sounds good. And then the kick will come in at this point. And the key is to bring in new interesting elements ever so often. And just draw out and build out the track. Let me quickly do something like this. Yes, I think I like that. And we will keep all this here for now. And sometimes I just fill up the arrangement with all there is. For example, this clap, I bring it in, bring it out. Just put in everything that you have. And then when you feel, oh, I think a new something could happen, just remove stuff. Okay, things are getting a bit more intense now. It's a good opportunity to drop a few notes here and there. I think I like this noise thing almost as a riser. Maybe that was a bit early. This clap can be a little bit louder. So yeah, from there out you build up the arrangement guided by the grid that you lay out, fill in everything, try to make something interesting happen every 8 to 16 bars, try to get in a break, and really this is probably the simplest arrangement one could think of, with an intro, a part, break, outro, and these two sections could actually be almost the same. So that would be the basic approach. What you can also see here is, let me move everything over here again. So one thing that I noticed when I was building out the arrangement, that everything still sounded a little bit empty. So I went ahead and recorded this texture, which, as you can see from the waveform, has also events that occur every now and then. That just make things a little bit more interesting when the other arrangement parts are a bit empty. And I used the track that I had as a guidance to record in more of this. And this is again just the Analog 4. All is the Analog 4 here, by the way. So let's have here. Let's go into this area again. It's just filling out the space leading into this section. That's workflow, always safe. That's workflow number 1. Now with workflow number 2, we're doing the opposite. We're creating the arrangement first, which is this. And we record everything that we want as loops or longer sequences. And then we take our main synth, because then we have a grid. And just for it being better comparable to the first arrangement, I used the same structure here, made an arrangement around it. It sounds a little bit different, the whole thing. And what you do is then you record your main synth and play it so every section, the intro, the part, the break, that they all fit into this grid. So let's have a listen, because this track actually sounds a little bit different. So we have those Atmo tracks down here, and we have our kick drum, a sub bass, hi-hat, a clap, a percussion. So everything is recorded piece by piece. I started with a kick drum and figured, okay, a low end would be nice. All right, so record in low end. Then this is a hi-hat that's a hi-hat from the pattern, and there was also a clap. Then we have this synth loop here. We have those Atmo tracks. One that is more in the lower register, droning along. And this is a bit more in the higher register, also droning along, but from the same patch on the Analog 4. So what you do is you record your main synth around these events. Let's have a listen. So things are getting a little bit more intense. And as you can see, just let it fade out here, because there is this section coming in. And I use this alternating arrangement here just to have fades from each section go over into the next session. So what you can already see here is there are some events happening in the middle of this section. So it's always good to go in halves. So this is a 32 bar section, so having something happening at 16 bars or also at 8 bars again, and here at 24 bars is always a good point or a good starting point to just give the listener something new. So let's have a listen what's happening here. So we're not going all in with the effects, we're just teasing for the big blow up that's coming over here. Let me bring in this is sorry, lost focus. So, and as we can see here, I used this fade out as a background for the other recording here. Let's have a listen. So everything getting really intense and crunching up. And all I did was I pressed stop on the Analog 4 and let the effects fade out, creating this bed. They actually go on for a very long time, so I added this curve here, and together with the other part it sounds like this. Creating a nice background for this new section. You may be thinking, well, these look very similar, this looks very similar, this looks also a bit like this. Well, you're right, because I'm using the same recordings here, which is totally fine if you're sketching out a song. If you feel it sounds boring in the final version, go ahead and record something unique. So you can always add in more things later. You can always make variations from these recordings to get things to be really unique, and I probably do that. And yeah, but for a basic arrangement, just to have something going, a point from which you can start to fine-tune and sculpt the whole arrangement and track more. That's what the goal of this workflow is. Make an arrangement, and all those details that you can see in here, they went there when I started. I just had a kick drum and some hi-hat and stuff going on. Imagine you have a block of marble, and you wouldn't start trying to detail out the fabric on the cloth. What you would do is you would chip away big chunks, get everything into a basic shape. Let's say you want to make the statue of a person, then you would shape it into roughly the position the person would be in. Is it standing? Is it sitting? And you do the same here with the arrangement. You start with something that's obvious, like having a kick drum and a low end, and then you bring in some hi-hats, have something happening again every 8, 16 bars. Create points of interest, so to say, where you get rid of a lot of drums and leave room for like this section here. And then you build in little fades. Then you drop a few beats here and there. As you can see here, that's something I really like to do. Just drop the kick for a moment before it goes into a new section. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And again, here are also a lot of elements that didn't make it into the full recording. Again, that's fine. Save them to your archive and use them in a later track. So this ends the series because all that's left is mixing both songs. And remember to grab your copy of Analog Dub Techno Volume 1 and the free sample pack. So, and if you want to learn how to mix the songs that you create, watch this video next.